What is going on, guys and gals of YouTube? It's Anthony of the Primal Crew, and I'm here today with another podcast episode of The Gear Grind. What is The Gear Grind? Well, if you don't know by now, you really need to start watching the past episodes. The Gear Grind is our podcast, and it gives us a pathway into everything Pokemon Go and Pokemon related, other than the video game, because I don't have that system yet. If you guys do enjoy this podcast, please make sure that you smash that like button down below, show your support for the channel, and if you haven't already, do not forget to subscribe to the channel for more great TCG, Let's Play, and other random videos such as this. So, let's see, where can we actually begin? Let us just go deep dive into the event that's happening right now, and actually in about 3.25 hours, will be ending. It is the Valentines Day Event that started back on Friday last week, and it ran all the way through the weekend up until today. Timestamp this, February 17th on at 10 o'clock on Monday. What was the Valentine's Day event? It was pretty much obviously a pink Pokemon parade of sorts, where anything pink spawned, from Whismers to Skitties to Porygons, which I guess Porygon is considered a pink Pokemon. Snubbull, Gligar I would have had spawn a little bit more because it is a pink Pokemon nonetheless. And the biggest ones that were supposed to be spawning, and I say supposed to, and I'll get into that in just a second, was Chansey. The new shinies that were released during this event were Shiny Happiny, Shiny Chansey, and one that was actually given its own raid, a 3-hour raid hour, was Lickitung. Now, Lickitung already had quests out for it well before its raid hour, but the shiny was not released until this past Saturday, the 15th, at around 2 o'clock, which I was fortunate enough to participate in and get one shiny through the actual raid system and to get one shiny through a research. I still have not claimed the one in research, but I do have it stacked up amongst all the other researches that I have there. Was it a bust? Is it a bust? What could be better about this event? Well, first and foremost, if you're going to have Chansey spawn. Now, I get it. You can't have, you can't have this Pokemon spawn at an alarming rate, such as like a community day, where you have 3 hours of one Pokemon spawning nonstop. I know this was a 3 or 4 day event, and you want it to be rare, and you want it to, mean something if it spawns. Here's the thing. I can tell you from my personal experience, I had two spawn, and I was in areas that were heavily populated with Pokestops and lures. Lures went on, and obviously, and that was another thing with this event, lures lasted for 6 hours. And out of that, and let's just say out of the entire raid hour that I did this past Saturday, one Chansey spawned. One Chansey. That's ludicrous. Also, the egg pool that they have for these events kind of throws me off. If you're going to have some of these special Pokemon actually hatch, like Happiny, and I'll get into the other Pokemon that I'm very, very teed off about. If you're going to have these Pokemon specifically in 7km eggs, make them the only ones in the 7km eggs. Don't have Tyrogue in the damn egg pool. Tyrogue's not pink. Tyrogue doesn't have a shiny. Tyrogue does not belong to be in there. I don't think Porygon should have been in that egg pool either. That didn't make any damn sense to me. And the one that's probably upset me the most this entire event was Love Disc. Why do I have such angst towards Love Disc, you might ask? Well, I happen to have my game here in front of me, and I'm going to go right down to Love Disc, where I have seen, and this is overall, 953. 953. I've caught 415, and I have one lucky. But 953 seen. Let's just make it 952. Because if it wasn't for one trade that I had, which actually gave me the one and only lucky that I have, I wouldn't have a shiny. I would have been 952 checks with no shiny. That's obnoxious. That's dumb. That's stupid. I can't tell you how many times I've clicked on one and nothing. People next to me have clicked on like 2 out of an entire cluster and have gotten at least 1 shiny. That is dumb. Now I know I've gone on shiny streaks. I've gone and I've had my fair share of luck. If you don't know about that luck, you don't have me on social media, which you should be checking me out on Instagram.com/PrimalCrewYT, where I had an 18-day streak of getting at least 1 shiny. There was a point where I got 3 shinies in a day on a couple different days. But it's obnoxious to me when you have a Pokemon that's supposed to be part of this event. And I guess Niantic's thought process behind it is, like, we're not going to up the rates on the shiny. But you did it for other events. Why won't you do it during Valentine's Day? And also, why wasn't there the shiny version of the Spinda with the hearts? I mean, we got it last year for Valentine's Day. Why couldn't we get the shiny version? And for those of you that don't know, Spinda's shiny version with the hearts on it are broken hearts. Fun little fact. I just think that was kind of they dropped the ball with that one. But far be it for me to tell Niantic what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. They're making millions and billions of dollars off of trainers, such as myself. So, who am I to tell them that they're wrong, right? Even during this podcast recording right now, I am playing the game, and I have my incense going just in case anything happens. But then I also have my notes open for things that I want to cover in this event, in this recording. So overall, do I think it was a bust? For me personally, other than the Lickitung, yeah. I barely hatched any Happinis. I barely hatched anything good out of the 7KM eggs. So yeah, I would think it's a bust. Niantic's got to change that kind of stuff. Like, if you're going to give us things that are like first release shinies, boost the rates a little bit. Not 1 out of 450. Make it like 300, 250. I don't know. That's just me. On to my next thought. These spotlight hours. Now, for those of you that are just casual players, the Spotlight Hour is something that got released a couple weeks ago. It's been happening every Tuesday around 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. It's an all-in-hour thing. That's why it's called Spotlight Hour. And they highlight... How do I say this? They highlight any one specific Pokemon, and they give them an hour where the spawn rates are boosted, and you have the potential to getting its shiny form. 2 weeks ago, it was Onix. Last week, it was Spoink. No clue what it is this week, but I guarantee I'll be going out and I'll be doing something for it. If I'm recording, I'm recording. If not, then The first week with Onix, there were a lot of reports, and I can say from personal experience, the spawn rate was bad. The spawn rate was horrible. And I'm talking, I had lures going, I had incense going, I was in areas where there are big clusters. I got a couple here and there. And granted, I did get 1 shiny out of it. It was at the 651 mark where the event was practically over. But the spawn rates were horrible with that. Spoink, on the other hand, that happened last week, much better with the spawns. Tons of spawns. Didn't get a shiny, but I was very, very pleased with how many spawns actually came out. That was nice. Is there any way that I think they can improve upon this? Probably not. I think it's a nice little reason for people to actually go out and actually, go hunting again. I myself, when Pokemon Go first came out, used to love getting with my buds, going down to the beach, or going down to SF State where I frequently go now, and just hunt, talk, gives us a reason to go out. We're not robots. We're not people that go out or that, sit in front of a computer and spoof or anything like that. And we're not people that necessarily do it just for content. Yeah, every once in a while, I'll record Pokemon Go for content, but I'm not going to go out of my way to, record it just to get a view. I like hanging out with people. I like, shooting the breeze with people too. So with these spotlight hours, I really hope they continue. My hopes with the theme that they've been going with, I mean, Onyx was not a part of a community day, but it was a part of an event where it was obviously one of the spotlighted Pokemon. Spoink was another one in that same category. I would like for them to, put another Pokemon that may have been a part of an event to give it a little bit more exposure. Very difficult for me to pick one as I'm looking up at a whole bunch. I think it would be kind of cool if they gave it to a Pokemon that doesn't get a lot of love. Like, let's just say, for example, if Shuckle was part of the next Spotlight Hour, Tailo, who was released during an event, Wingull, who was released during an event. I would love it if Sableye was released during this, because I've never personally caught a Sableye. I've had one traded to me by my good buddy Chris. I know you're listening, Chris. Or hell, I mean, make it Coffin, make it Ekans, Krabby, Ghastly. Those would be cool. Something where you just get just not a lot of the same Pokemon, but it's Spotlight for a reason. So just roll with it. Give us a reason to go hunting. All right. What is next on my notes? What do I have? Let me just make sure everything's still recording. All right, we're good. A little tidbit on raids. Now I've been asked this question before, and I've asked this question before. With the raid system, so your tier 1 raids are a lot of the basic evolutions of Pokemon. Tier 2 might be, basic evolutions to first stage. 3 and 4 are usually first stage or second stage evolutions, and your 5th stage is obviously your legendary. Now let's just use for an example. There was a time where Crocodile was a part of a tier 2 raid. Crocodile, who is the evolutionary form of Totodile, and the pre-evolutionary form of Feraligatr. Totodile has been released shiny. It was released during a community day last year. Crocodile, if you battle it in a raid, can't be shiny. Why? They code it during certain events. For example, when they gave it to the Kanto starters, when they gave you a raid hour for Bulbasaurs, Charmanders, Squirtles, Ivysaurs, Wartortles, Charmeleons, Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaurs. During the hour or 3 hours that all of those were available, each evolutionary form had their shiny available. But why is it only just 2 events? Why can't shiny forms for all Pokemon actually be available that already has a pre-evolutionary form? For example, Sharpedo's in raids, or was in raids. I don't think it's in raids right now. Carvana has a shiny form. Why can't Sharpedo have a chance? It doesn't have to be a boosted raid. You can make it really, really easy and just really, really just as high. 1 out of 450. Or hell, if you want to boost it even more, 1 out of 600. Just boost it. Give us a reason to go raiding after these tier 2s, 3s, and 4s. Because the only tier 4 raid I can tell you that people actually still go after is Alola Marowak or Absol. And the only reason you go after those 2 is because they have a shiny form. There, let me go to my friends at leakduck.com. I'm sorry, not leakduck.com. Instagram.com/leakduck. If my internet will work. They do have a website, www.leakduck.com, where you can actually buy merchandise from them. All right, here's an example. Right now in the Tier 2 raids, it's Magneton, Alolan Exeggutor, Lickitung, Electabuzz, Miltank, Mawile. As it stands right now, Alolan Exeggutor, Lickitung, and Mawile have their shinies available. Elekid is an available shiny. Magnemite is an available shiny. The only one out of this entire list that should not be shiny in raids is Miltank. Why? I mean, if Elekid is available, why can't Electabuzz? If Magnemite is, why can't Magneton? Tier 3. Alolan Raichu, Arcanine, Machamp, Aerodactyl, Flaffy, Piloswine. The only two right now that have available shinies are Alolan Raichu and Aerodactyl. Though each and every single one of these pre-evolutionary form, and for some of them pre-evolutionary form, Growlithe, Machop, Mareep, and a Swinub. All those have shiny forms, yet their Stage 1 and Stage 2 evolutions don't. And Tier 4, Alolan Marowak, Galarian Weezing, Rhydon, Chansey, Tyranitar, and Excadrill. The only ones, as of right now, that don't have shinies are the Excadrill line and the Rhydon line. I understand why Galarian Weezing doesn't have one. It's because it's a Sword and Shield version, and you can't actually get shiny... Well, I mean, if you play Sword and Shield, you can get shiny Galarian Weezing. But the Tyranitar line with Larvitar has its available. Rhydon, obviously, I understand because that community day hasn't happened, and that's actually happening this Saturday. Fun little fact, that'll be the day after my birthday. And thanks to one of my buds at work, I will probably be available that day to actually do community day. Because I don't want to miss this one, because I actually want to record it. So, my point that I'm going into... the point that I want to get into with all this is if a pre-evolutionary or a basic form has a shiny, why can't Pokemon Go just release the other shinies in their raid forms? Doesn't necessarily... I mean, if you want to just take it a step further and say the only way you can get the evolutionary forms in shiny form is from raids. If, for example, if I run into a Tyranitar in the wild... You don't have to make that one shiny. I don't know. It's really complicated the way that I'm thinking about this. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. I think it would make sense for the raid system, if you're going to be battling and using a raid pass, at least make the reward something that people will go after. My thoughts. The PvP system. Now, since they released the actual PvP system in Pokemon Go, which was a couple weeks ago, I think it's great. Because now you actually get to go, instead of having to be next to the person and actually challenge them, or just challenge somebody, to a random Great, Ultra, or Master League battle. Now there's an actual ranking system where you can actually battle and go after whoever you want. I mean, it's all a random generator on who you get and stuff like that. The one thing that I feel the PvP system can benefit from, and I think a lot of people might agree and a lot of people are definitely going to disagree with this, is a no legendary mode. For example, in Great League, one of the top tier Pokemon that you can use in Great League, because of its low CP, was Deoxys Defense Form. You're not necessarily going to go into one of these Great League battles thinking to yourself, maybe I should use an Umbreon. Because who's to say you have an Umbreon that's under 1500 CP? Or a... what's another one that I can think of off the top of my noggin? Weavile. You're not necessarily going to go into that. Honchkrow you're never going to be thinking about using. Nothing with a Dark-type move is ever going to really find its way into that part of the system. Right now in the Ultra League, which is the league that's been released right now, or at least in the preliminaries, is Giratina. In both, I think a lot more people use the Origin form, if I'm not mistaken. It's one of the forms. I mean... You're talking about a legendary with a CP up to, but not exceeding 2,500 CP. Giratina is already known as the Great Wall for a reason, because its defense is sky high. Now, Obviously, there's enough things that could take down a Giratina. You got a Wall Rain that has Ice Shard and Blizzard, as long as, it can tank a few Dragon Claws, or if you have enough blocks that you can actually hold on against an Ancient Power. Those are just a few of the examples that could take down a Giratina. Or hell, if you got Mewtwo that has Shadow Ball. I've seen Weavile actually work pretty well too. So I don't really mind all the others. I've lost plenty of battles. I have a horrible record when it comes to the Ultra League. Trust me. I use a very, very interesting team. My Great League team consisted of a Venusaur, a Hitmonchan, and it was always between an Altaria and I believe I used a Registeel because I had 100% Registeel. Right now in my Ultra League team, I utilize Lucario. Lucario, Walrein, just because of its water ice typing. And one that I don't see a lot of people using, Drapion. Excuse me. I thought Drapion was a decent choice. More so because I've seen, and I've gone up against a lot of people that use Wigglytuff and use Clefable. And for those of you that don't remember, with the Gen 6 release, those were reclassified as Fairy types, not as normal types. So they were pure Fairy, and Fairy is weak to Poison. So, as long as you can take their hits, the only thing that scares me, especially with Clefable, is that Clefable can get Psychic. And Psychic is super effective, at least 2 times super effective on Drapion because it's part poison. It is part bug, so yeah, it can still get hit by a lot of damage. But I've seen that one actually work out pretty well in terms of that. I kind of want to get a good Regigigas and see if I can use that in Great League battle. Or I'm sorry, not Great League, in Ultra League battle, because if you remember in the video game, it has the ability Slow Start. Slow Start in the actual video game, cut its attack and cut its, I believe its speed in half for 5 turns. And if you were lucky enough to keep your Regigigas alive for 5 straight turns, that thing became a monster. I mean, it's already got the exceeding 600 overall base stats. If that thing can learn Power Up Punch, holy hell, you are going to die. You will die. So, I think the one thing that PvP or the battle leagues can definitely benefit from is if there was a no legendary mode or no legendary clause. I feel like using a legendary is kind of cheap in a lot of ways. Like, I know for a fact, and I'm going to put myself on record, when the Master League comes out, the top Pokemon that you are going to see, you will see Rayquazas, you will see Kyogres, you'll see Groudons, you'll see Mewtwo's, you'll probably not see too many Mews, Jirachis, or Celebes, just because they have low base stats. Deoxys attack form you'll probably see a lot of. Heatran probably not so much. Dialga you'll definitely see. Darkrai maybe. Pretty much any legendary. Lugia, Ho-Oh. You'll see all of those legendaries pop up, if not be a full team of nothing but legendaries. Completely maxed out, and for those that have enough candy that can do it, with 3 moves. So, I feel like I know obviously Niantic's not going to listen to this, but anybody that's listening, if you agree with me, tweet out to Niantic, tweet out to Pokemon Go, let them know if you agree. No legendaries in the Master League. You got to try and use, your Tyrannitars, your Machamps, hell, your Aerodactyls, your Snorlaxes, your Dragonites. Pseudo legendaries are fine because those you can at least get normally in the wild, possibly like your Dratinis, your Larvitars. Right now, your Gibbles, you could find those in the wild, albeit rare, especially for Gibbles and Dano, which is one that I need to find a better one of. But yeah, no legendary mode. It would just, I feel like people might benefit from that. And the last topic that I do want to cover, very briefly, is Generation 5 in a whole and how they have been releasing the Pokemon from that. I feel, obviously, because we're up to Generation 5 already, there's still one Pokemon in Generation 3 that hasn't been released. And we all know who that is, Kecleon. Generation 4, we still have, not a lot, but we still have more Pokemon that have not been released. For example, we still have a lot of legendaries that have not been released. And by legendaries, I mean like 3 or 4, really. The Phione Manaphy line, which is, I mean, technically it's a mythical. Arceus, which is also a mythical. We're also looking at Shaman, who's another mythical. So it's 3 mythicals so far that have not been released. And technically, and old school Pokemon fans might know this, unlike the one guy in San Francisco that barely knows how to pronounce names, Victini, also a mythical Pokemon, but it's also at the beginning of the Pokedex in Generation 5. It does not end in Generation 4. It actually starts in Generation 5. For those of you that didn't know. I mean, what else are we really missing from Generation 4? Like I said, not a lot. I mean, all the regionals have been released. I do feel like there needs to be a regional shakeup one of these days. I think a lot of people might benefit from that. I mean, we've had Tauros around here since the very beginning. It's never really just gone and stayed in another area. Hell, we did it with Lunatone and Solrock. We jumped those. Zangoose and Seviper, we moved those around. We need some other kind of like continental shift. Oh, there's another Pokemon that I didn't like even speak of. Rotom. Now, in the gaming lore, if you look at his position in the Pokedex, he is Pokemon number 479. Don't know why I remember that. 479. He is the very first Pokemon, or the very last Pokemon, depending upon how you look at it, in the line between the 4th-gen evolutionary lines from previous gens, and then it's right after that, you go right into the Lake Legends of Uxie, Mesprit, Azelf, Dialga, Palkia, Heatran, Regigigas. In Generation 4, a lot of people assumed that Rotom was an actual legendary, where in fact, it is not a legendary. It's not a mythical either. So there's still, there's talk back and forth. I'm very curious how that one's actually going to be released. I'm very curious to how Rotom's actually going to get released in the game. Does it get released in its own raid hour? Does it get released as a research? When it does eventually get released in a research, do we have the opportunity to change it into its different forms? For those of you that don't know, again, in Generation 4, you could change your Rotom into 4 different forms. If I remember these off the top of my head. You got Rotom Mow, which would be grass and electric. You got Rotom Wash, which would be water and electric. Rotom Freeze, which would be ice and electric. And then Rotom Fan, which would be fire and electric. No, there's a 5th one. So Rotom Fan, I believe, is actually just electric. And then Rotom Heat, or I just call him Rotom Oven, was fire and electric. There's 5 different forms that you can actually go into. While Rotom itself was electric ghost. If I'm correct about that. How does it get released? Don't know. When will it get released? I don't know. But my point going into it, there are still plenty of Generation 5 Pokemon that have not been released in the game. For example, we still have the Musharna line that has not been released yet. I'm glad that they finally brought out Audino. I thought it was a very good move that they brought it out during this Valentine's Day event. Zorua Zoroark line. Gothorita all the way up until Gothitelle. The Solosis line. Ducklet. I want Ducklet. I love little Ducklet. Ducklet's awesome. You still have other... I'm going to literally list off all of these because I have them all in my mind. The Vanillite line, the ice cream Pokemon. I feel like that one's going to be a Christmas one this upcoming year. Deerling Sawsbuck. Emolga, which I actually think is or if it's not, it should actually be a regional. I don't know why I feel like that one should be. The Sandile Crocodile line. Sigilyph, I believe, is a regional. Maractus. No, Maractus is also a regional as well. Scraggy, I thought was kind of interesting that they brought that out as a PvP reward. I just think that was actually very, very good on their part. The Dynamo to Electros line. LGM Beheum. Actually, we finally got. Cubchoo we got. Stunfisk. Stunfisk is kind of... What can I compare Stunfisk to? That Stunfisk and Dunsparce, I feel like, are in kind of the same category, even though Stunfisk is used a lot more. Mienfoo Mienshao, Druddigon, which is a pure dragon type from Generation 5. We don't know how that one's going to get released. Pawniard Bisharp, Bouffalant, the Afro Bull, or the Afro Bull Pokemon, as I like to call it. The Rufflet Braviary line. The Volibee to, I believe that's Mandibuzz. That line. And then, obviously, Larvesta Volcarona. Now, that one's going to be interesting because when that one actually does eventually get released, that one has to be an event. It was kind of an event or kind of a way that you had to get it in Generation 5 is you had to go to a ruins area, I believe. And it was I don't think you had to do anything special, but it was just a random Pokemon that was there. We still have legendaries that haven't been released. We're still finishing up with Tornadus. We still have Thundurus. We still have Reshiram. We have Zekrom. We have Landorus. We have Kyurem. Keldeo. Meloetta, even though that one's going to be a mythical. Genesect, who, weird, that one's a mythical as well. Don't know. Don't ask me. I also forgot about the Sewaddle to Leavanny line. There are so many Pokemon that have not been released. The Cottonee to Whimsicott. Petalil to Lilligant, if I didn't already say that one. They're releasing Pokemon very, very slowly, and they're going to milk this throughout the entire year. We are not going to see Generation 6 this year. I don't think we will. I'd be very surprised if we did. Because when Generation 6 hits, Generation 6 didn't have a lot of Pokemon. And then when we actually get into Generation 7 with the Alolans, with the Alola region, there wasn't a lot of Pokemon there either. So they have to try and milk what they got. What I do wish is for the one Pokemon in Generation 3, Kecleon, that hasn't been released, release it somehow. You gave us a taste of it when you first showed us Meltan. Just give it to us so we can complete that next for a lot of us. The other thing that I would really, really want is a continental shift. Give us, regionals to move over to other areas. Bring Kangaskhan over here as our regional. Bring Mr. Mime over here as our regional. Bring back Zangoose. Bring back Lunatone. For God's sakes, move some of the other Pokemon that are considered regionals right now. I mean, there are so many that can be moved over here. I'm literally looking at my notes over here. Hold on, give me a second, because I really, really move Volbeat over here. I like Volbeat over Illumise. Not a lot of people know, but I had a very competitive Volbeat, who actually, if you put a choice band on it and you gave it, what did I give it? I gave it a fighting type move. Nobody expected it, and it actually wrecked a lot of house. I thought it was great. Hell, move the monkeys. We have fucking Panpour over here. Give us Pansear and Pansage. I know the idea is to have people travel and stuff like that. I get it, but come on. Give us another reason to go out and hunt. Move a regional. Hell, if it has to be one of those, if you guys catch so many Pokemon, we'll move regionals. Do that. People will go out and people will actually do this. If you don't do it, you're gonna lose. You're gonna lose people because they're gonna lose interest. They're gonna get out of the game, and the only way they'll get back in the game is if, by some lucky twist of fate, you all of a sudden release their favorite Pokemon. I don't know. But I definitely think a continental shift needs to happen. And if you guys feel the same way, let me know down below in the comment section who you feel should move. I would love to have Corsola move over here to my part of the region. Granted, it's over in Hawaii. I want it over here. Heracross is more towards the Mexico area, South America, and the Florida region. Give me Heracross over in California. I can't find Heracross. I'm not just gonna fly over to Florida just for Heracross. Give me something. But that is gonna bring me to the end of this little episode, and I really hope you guys did enjoy yourself because I had fun recording this. I know I say this, but I definitely want to do this more often because now I actually do a little bit of co-hosting with my buddy over on on his podcast. He has a wrestling themed podcast. It is Talk is Money with obviously your host, Bobby Money. He can be seen on all different platforms between SoundCloud, iTunes, and a couple other locations. Just search Talk is Money and you will find it. Really great listen. You got a guy who has wrestling knowledge of 20 plus years. If you want information about wrestling from an actual fan's perspective, he has the podcast you want to listen to. Again, you want to search up Talk is Money and you will find Bobby Money. Bobby Money has the podcast you want. But with that, I'm going to sign off for now. Again, if you want to follow me on social media, I am at Instagram.com/PrimalCrewYT. Facebook, not telling you my Facebook, don't have to. If you want to find me on Twitter, it's the same handle, PrimalCrewYT. I will be there. If I have mentions, I usually try and respond to people that comment. I love to try and, respond to as many comments as possible. And I want to try and make this as interactive as possible for everybody out there. And I want to thank you guys for coming out and listening with today's podcast. If you guys did enjoy it, please make sure you thumbs up. Comment down below on any thoughts you may have had on any of the topics. And above all else, do not forget to subscribe to this channel for more great TCG, Let's Play, and other random videos. But with that, I'm going to get up out of here. Thank you guys again for coming out and checking out today's podcast. I've been Anthony. You guys have been the best part of the Primal Crew, and I will catch you guys next time. And as always, thank you all so much for your support, and take it easy.